how you tell yourself that liberation, liberation.
Katamawe 1212 Radio Culture. Yes, indeed. We are live also on iCulture TV. You are welcome to the Fireside Reasoning Session. It's been a while, hasn't it? Yes, indeed. That's all I'm going to say because really and truly, I am the guest on this show. So I'm going to hand over straight to the moderator, Ras Kwasi Anokye 7, Fireside. 7, Wagwan.
Charlie, Michelle, Charlie.
Mejoso, Nana.
Yeah,
Nana, what
yeah,
you saying?
good to see the man, Charlie Rastafari, you know?
Every time.
Yes, good to see the man. Yes,
yeah,
Charlie. So yes. I'd be like, say, yesterday you lighted up my vibe small the time you start talk about the Sahel thing.
Yeah.
The Alliance thing. Yeah, where it got me thinking about Sankara, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was solid with Ghana too. I mean, like
absolutely.
the man just gets it. So please bring us to that place about the reconnection with the brother up in Burkina right now. I mean, the brethren in Burkina. So you tell me, say you're picking up some vibes about his connecting with Ghana again, right?
Yes,
like the way he stepped through the time that they inaugurate the new regime, right, for Ghana.
Yeah.
So please take us there, talk about that, and then we take it from there.
All right, give thanks, 7. So so we're talking about the Alliance of Sahel States today, and there's so much to say, Rasta, because first of all, let's take it from where you started from, right? There's always been historical ties with the people of Burkina Faso. Of course, we know that if we hadn't had that conference where they drew those lines, there would probably not even be any difference really between us and them, because we really and truly the same people, But now because of that, there is a Ghana and there is a Burkina Faso. But then you check out that the language that they speak across the border is the same, right? We're the same people practically, is what I'm saying. And we've managed to maintain very strong ties, with the people of Burkina Faso. If you really check it out, at least from the time of Thomas Sankara and Jerry Rawlings coming, we've had very strong ties, and we've always had mutual respect for each other. And not just that, we've also had very strong trade ties. Burkina Faso depends very heavily on Ghana for its economy because it's a landlocked country, so a lot of their imports come through Ghana. Also, they trade with us, in terms of agriculture. We all know that a lot of tomatoes come from Burkina Faso, etc. So we have very, very strong ties. And I'm very happy that we have been able to maintain that over the years. Thomas Sankara was very close to Jerry Rawlings, and by extension, the people of Burkina Faso to the people of Ghana. And this new guy, Traore, has been able to endear himself to the people of Ghana as well, And I'm very happy about that because, and if you check the circumstances surrounding his uprising and all of that, if he did not enjoy the support of Ghana, if he did not enjoy the support of some of the other regional players in that sub-region, it would have been quite difficult for him, to be honest with you. And that would also have meant a lot of upheaval because those people are not playing. I have to say, they have a purpose. They know what they're doing. Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, they are not playing. When they say they are forming an alliance, they are not going to sit down and say, hey, if they were playing, they would have succumbed to the pressure that ECOWAS was putting on them. Tinubu and Adodankwa Akufo-Addo, right? But they stood their ground. They said no. And they didn't just bluff by forming like some type of military bloc. Right now, the AES is a solid bloc that is competing with ECOWAS. So it's we can look at it from all different angles, but I personally am observing the AES, and
I go love make you come back and expand on that. I hope you go forget. I go write them down because the thing you say, what it implies, the thing that they do, I go love pass say if you go feel you keep going right, and then you go come back and talk a little more about what that means for Africa. for African unity.
I'd like to cut straight to that because that's actually where I was going.
Thank you.
That means a lot, like for instance, if Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali take their population out of the ECOWAS, that trims down the ECOWAS in terms of population to almost half. Not half, it's to almost like 2/3, really. If they take their GDP, if they take their resources and everything out of if they take their geographical location, it significantly impacts ECOWAS, right? It to me, it weakens ECOWAS, weak as it already is, And the thing is this, though, the AES has also agreed to maintain some of the positive things that the ECOWAS was bringing us. To me, one of the best things that the ECOWAS offered us was the free movement element, right? So I've been to Nigeria 2 times. Every time I go to Nigeria, I go on an ID card. The second time I had a passport, but I hardly used it. I was able to enter Nigeria on my ID card. That's the kind of freedoms that we want. We want the freedom to move around Africa. And the ECOWAS offered that in the sub-region. Now, the AES says, yes, we're going to maintain that. We're going to maintain the freedom of movement so people from these 3 countries can still go into the other West African countries without hindrance or let. And then the people from the other. In addition to that, the African countries, and Fire, let me tell you something, Rasta. Listen, so sometimes I sit there and I'm wondering, maybe our leaders are up to something bigger than what we're seeing. Maybe, and I hope so. Because it is a great opportunity to reform that whole thing, that whole ECOWAS thing based on our own terms. This is what I mean. When we formed the ECOWAS, what did we want? Based on what? I believe at the time we formed it based on some model that was, at the very best, heavily influenced by Western models, right? So right now we see, all right, there is the European Union, there's this, there's that, there's the next thing, there's the whatnot. Let's have our own bloc based on what? Trade and defense. How much defense are we defending? We know of ECOMOG. ECOMOG went into Liberia. It was disastrous. Okay, so I don't know how much we have chucked in terms of regional cooperation in terms of defense. I'm not going to go too much into that because I don't have too much facts there. What I'm seeing on the surface is that we haven't chucked a whole lot. In terms of trade, what have we chucked? Why is Niger powering entire France, but Niger itself has only 15% of its population, or 25% is it, enjoying electricity? Why can't Niger power Africa instead of France? Why do we have Dumso in Ghana and France is enjoying uranium power from Niger, right? And at the same time, we can trade. Where is the trade? This is where I'm heading. ECOWAS is supposed to be the economic community of West African states. Economic is the key word there. But where is the trade? There are certain African countries that you would have to travel to Europe to transit to travel to. One brethren of mine was complaining about that. He was trying to travel from Ghana to some other African country. He had to go to Europe to transit to come back there. What sense does that make? Now, the AES is saying, we are going to reform all of that. The AES, I'm telling you, they are not playing. Already, Burkina Faso launched an electric car, its first electric car, under a military leadership. So you tell me, do we want a military leader who is smart and has the interests of the people at heart, or do we want somebody who has been voted for by the people, like Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, but who is heartless and goes to and I'm sorry to be going back to this guy because he's out of power right now, but I'm just using him as an example. You have an airplane. The state has a presidential jet, yet you go and rent another jet, pay all this money per hour for it, and then the people in your country are suffering, versus a leader who travels on a military plane. Traore came to Ghana on a military plane. How much did they pay for that? And under this leader, Burkina Faso has launched its first electric car. The guy has been there for 2 years only. So you tell me what you want. Fire, this is what we are talking about. I heard one journalist make a point that if you take all the democratically elected leaders in Africa together, and you take somebody like Traore and you put them on a ballot box, he'll probably win over them. Because the people are not stupid anymore. The people know what they want. Nigerians will know what they want. Malians know what they want. Burkinabes know what they want. Ghanaians know what we want. The whole Africa knows what we want, right? But we're in a situation where we are still kowtowing to the models that have been presented to us by the same imperialists that have ruined our lives for many decades over. Ghana, with all the gold in Obuasi, over which so much blood is shed every year, has only 10% of all that gold. What sense does that make? So far, that's where I'm going with that, Rasta.
Radio culture. Lovely. Nah. Charlie, a few things you trigger right now where man things say for day on, I don't want to throw a whole lot of things at once, but I hear from you the thing you say actually the guys where they did the Sahel, they model something for us right now.
Yes.
Where I think say we for stop this idea, say we to do the right thing and start look at them.
Yes.
Say they to do something where we for learn from. Because, His Majesty, the time they talk about the regional groupings, ECOWAS and thing, he say we foresee them as temporary expedients.
Exactly.
Right? Basically, we just have these things in place towards another goal, right? But it go be like, say, ECOWAS be a goal in itself now. Right? Most people feel like, say, ECOWAS is such a precious thing. It's not. Especially as you talk, wait till we see them, they do it be so, But the way that the Brothers for the Sahel, they operate, and I'm glad say you link Burkina to them too, because we go make the mistake of limiting ourselves to Burkina because it's close to us, the brother there is getting a lot of press and all that.
Yeah.
But the thing where they happen for Niger is very significant too.
Yes.
And
yes.
Mali, So we think of them together. And we think about how people get together and say, this is what we think the people need. I think we make one huge mistake of thinking of our countries in terms of the state more than the people. Or the nation, But the state is a different thing.
Yep.
The thing what we got going on is that for Burkina and Niger and Lucy say the state has become more in tune with the people.
Yes.
But most of the time we have a situation where the state is one thing and the people be one thing.
Yes.
Where, there'll be all this. So I think, say, Charlie, there'll be things. I love the word that you say, great opportunity. That's what you just said. To reform these things where we have. A matter of fact, see them as towards the goal of the larger African unity. Because I hear brothers for South Africa too, where they're serious about what happened for the Sahel right now. You know what I mean? It's not be just wait for this side or the whole continent. I hear brothers for the Caribbean and the US, whether they take it very seriously, the black world. So I think say this great opportunity where they talk about, I would love to hear you elaborate on it some more, and then talk about how, uniting through the nation, through the people, be more like necessary, or that will be our priority more than looking at the state. Because if the people push and the governments want to remain in power, Charlie, they for respond. But if we say, oh, why the state don't they do this? Why the government don't they do this? We go, wait. It come from us, the people. The African unity thing, we for start to move on that level now. Fortunately, the people for the Sahel Alliance, they get it. Where they do something. So we for just build on that and synergize more. But Charlie, it's be you way to tell us something on it. What do you think? And then take it from there. Please.
So we're looking at I said great opportunity because it really is a great opportunity, Rasta. If you look at the world geopolitics in general, right, it is a very opportune time to redefine ourselves as Africans, in terms of governance, in terms of our economics and everything. It is an opportune time. This is what I mean. Look at the United States now, right? It is basically saying, I'm going to flush out certain people that I don't want, and I'm going to basically cut assistance, economic assistance, right, to Africa and to other places like that. Now we're talking about Africa, so let's limit it there. To Africans, what that means is that you have to reinvent new ways of doing things. Now, to somebody who is also cutting that type of assistance to you, you also have the opportunity to cut certain types of allegiances to. Let's be straight on that. All right. A lot of these things that tie us to the apron strings of the West is because of these aid and things that they give us, right? So if you're not giving us those things, you're also not expecting certain types of allegiances over there. Let's put that on the back burner for now. We're also looking at the emergence of the BRICS institution, the BRICS structure, right? When our president was being inaugurated, did you catch it? He made reference to the BRICS, and to the fact that we stand at a point where we have to decide where we want to lean. Ethiopia joined BRICS. Nigeria joined BRICS. These are two giants in Africa in terms of economy, in terms of size, in terms of population, in terms of resources. Ethiopia is killing it right now. Ghana is one big player in Africa, in spite of its size. Now we're asking whether we should join BRICS just after Nigeria did. The dependence on the West and the dollar economy is shrinking. My fear, though, is BRICS the answer? I don't know. That's subject for another discussion. But I'm saying,
no, it's not. Ohene,
well,
I won't make you follow through with some hunches because you're asking a question before they ask now. Because we don't want to go tie ourselves into something, and then 20 years later we'll be like, oh, we should have thought about what you were saying today in early 2025. So give us your hunches, right?
Well, my hunch there is that
it's not a bad thing. It's better. It sounds better than our IMF.
It's like the devil in the blue sea analogy. So because
please tell us what you think.
Yeah, well, I think that everything is good for what it's good for. Exactly. So right now, it could be a stopgap measure to deal with certain things. And that's exactly what I'm saying, right? Because right now, if we're going to say that, okay, we are going to redefine ourselves, we are going to redefine our economies and everything. Burkina Faso is not redefining its economy based on the dollar. It's not doing that, right? If it's doing that with some buffers. They know what they're doing. Mali is not doing that. Niger is not doing that. So what I'm saying here is that if all of Africa would start looking at this model, and mind you, Rasta, Africans, as I'm saying, sometimes I don't know if these people are up to something bigger than what we know. Because check this out. Guinea also had a coup, right? Guinea considered joining the AES, opted rather to provide diplomatic support to the AES. What this means is that Guinea is interfacing between the AES and other governments, simply put. Now, that sounds to me like cooperation. Now, two out of them, what's the name of that? I forget the name of that. There's a bloc that had 5 countries in them. I think it was to dismantle the group. What are the chances that if they start seeing some progress in these 3 countries, they're not going to join? If they join, how many countries are left in the ECOWAS? Is there going to be cooperation the way we've lined it up, or is there going to be some sort of competition? is that cooperation or competition going to be to our benefit as Africans? Is it better to have one block and fight for everything that we want as Africans? Or is it better to have disintegration? The ECOWAS is not even big enough, right, to fight for anything significant in terms of the world economics and everything. Now we're having a disintegration of that. Is being split further into the AES and the ECOWAS, So, but basically, but let me piggyback to the BRICS a little bit, at this point. The BRICS thing, as I said, I think that we're now entering into that system, right? So we can go with our own terms, if you will, rather than be in a system to which we have no say whatsoever, right? We have no say on the value of the dollar. We wake up today and then they decide that, the CD is 20 CDs to the dollar, and all we have to do is to comply, So I don't, like I said, I don't know if BRICS is totally the answer, but I feel like we have an opportunity to at least make our voice heard on a new platform, rather than just be subject to something where we're just like pawns. We don't have any say whatsoever in how things get run over there.
I still want to stay on it because you're onto something. I feel from the start of your reasoning, you're making a point about this is a time to do things on our own terms, right? So man feels say the point you raise about the BRICS would be crucial. So we go see the BRICS thing, it'd be some like a temporary measure, or at least like a stopgap measure, like you said, right? But we start to have this culture of imagining other things where we no see before, say, right? We for inculcate that, because it'd be like we're always looking for template where they already, then we'll go follow. And that's one major problem where we have historically. We've had a problem. Now the Sahel Alliance, you see, when they imagine something, they act on it.
Yeah.
Right? And they pay the price, right, for it. Like, I be the thing where most of us, they fear the kind of punishment they go through, right? Most of us think about it, we'll be like, oh, Charlie, at least, I if you get this and that, so I don't for making. But before start to get to that place, maybe they're not going to even punish us. Maybe we just say somebody go punish us, you go surprise them, we go make a move where the punishment will be what we think. But you see, these guys have been able to, maybe with their military mindset, they don't withstand the pressure, whether they do what they want to do. They imagine something and act on it. We tend to be a little more shy, furtive about thinking about something and doing it. But we need that. From the way they talk, I want to take that thing you say, what does on our own terms mean? So let's say BRICS. We can work with BRICS, but energy for save some mental oxygen, for thinking seriously about maybe we have to invent something else alongside that, where we go fit to work with them if necessary, but it'd be something where it'd be on our terms, right?
Exactly.
Where the interface with that. Yeah, but right now, if we're not careful where we leave, we skip what you say right now, we're gonna be like, oh yeah, now we left these guys, so now we did BRICS. Now the terms of BRICS be what we for deal with.
Yeah.
And Russia get their own interests, China get their own interests, and then now
I personally don't
trust them.
I personally don't trust all the countries in the BRICS.
I mean, they have to look out for themselves.
Of course.
Yeah, so we have to look out for ourselves.
Yes. And so, but what I'm saying though is that at least there's an opportunity to negotiate, right? I don't think you just get up and barge into the BRICS and they say, hey, here's a seat for you, sit down and flow with us. I'm sure before you go, there will be some discussion versus, working in an environment where you really don't have any say, at all. Number two, remember that somebody like Muammar Gaddafi had a system that he was developing also, where he wanted to develop the I forget what he was going to call that currency though, the dinar, right? He was trying to develop the dinar to be the standard currency for African trade, right? Which is based on gold. Africa has all this gold. Why can't we have our own standard? It is ridiculous. It's a question of leadership, But remember that we also had that system. Now, if we join BRICS as a stopgap measure, whilst going back to develop this system, it doesn't have to be the dinar. It could be called the Afro. It could be called the Okonfanochi sword, something. Who knows? We can name it whatever we want, right? What I'm saying here is this. whatever system that we would develop in time, the BRIC can be a step to that, right? So because for now we don't have a united front, we have individual countries joining BRICS. So if we're doing that, and at the same time we're realizing that, oh look, and mind you, let me say this, Kwesi, AES no, and novello. This is Kwame Nkrumah's idea.
That's right.
Forget about the whole entire continent. No, after Nkrumah realized that it would be difficult to unite the whole entire continent at once, he had a plan B of uniting certain countries within the continent. Ghana, Guinea, Mali.
Absolutely.
We know this.
Yes.
And that's exactly what the AES is doing.
Yes, and that tells us that when we have a feeling to do so, when you get a sense to do, yesterday we talk about hunches. When you something hit us, say we for do, we for move, because you go be surprised that you think it go feel like it be new thing. Like go say, oh, somebody doing before Sniff.
Yeah.
But sometimes we're scared of making moves when we don't see them in front of us. We be like, oh, we know for do this because nobody did do this. Oh, but sure I know behind that. Oh, it's only please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah, no, basically because like I was saying, this is it's not novel. It's something that has actually been done before. And to the point that you were making earlier about Mali, the countries involved, not being scared or not fearing punishment and all of that. No. They did their homework. They've been studying things for a while, and we all have. But what's left is the courage to step up and do something. And that's the difference between a lot of other African countries and these three countries, which have boldly stepped up to do this. You know what else they are doing in the region, Kwesi? They are fighting terrorism in the region. There's a lot of what you call it, Islamist insurgency in that region. A lot. And these three countries have come together and they're holding it better than the ECOWAS has ever done all these years. Right? And then after all this, you see some low mentality leaders trying to wage war on them on behalf of France. Like sometimes, anyhow. But yeah, that's what's going on in that region.
Yes, no, Charlie, this be something. I love what you say about that. Some people, as you say, anytime there's news that what do you call it, Islamists have made some moves, then they blow it up, make it look like, say, these people make bad decisions to kick out the French. But when they say, be only them where they kick out the French,
Oh, it's all across Africa. It's all across Africa.
Yeah, but this one, if the time they start make that move, people go say, oh, Chinese people, they take it too far, right? But the thing be common sense. That be back to your point. The courage to say this thing, we have to do this for our own interests. The consequences, we go face them. Maybe, and I make Charlie, sometimes when the thing say, the thing, go land right for people that ears inside. Maybe that be what the people they want. They get solid support across West Africa. People that celebrate the fact say the French to go away.
Yep.
But I should say initially the time that people start table the idea, people go say, oh Charlie, don't do that, don't do that. Nobody go do this. Who's ever go listen to you? They did it, and we realized after all that's how people Senegal, all those countries they raise questions about why should the French be around. Right? So
it's long overdue. It's long overdue for the French. The type of grip the French has on Africa, it's way long overdue for it to be.
Thank you. And it's not just
revised because
the French won't be more overt, but Ghana is still colonized by England, right? Indirect rule. We've got indirect arrangement over there. We're still resisting that. We're not home free yet, right?
I mean,
not just in America and all over. The arrangements. So we have to learn from these people for the Sahel there, where they be like, look, we're taking a stand, right? I'm not saying that the present government in Ghana is going to fall for anything, but I'm just saying that we have to buttress that understanding. So we are not home free yet. We're still fighting for our sovereignty. You can't go near the anything. In the end, We can't say it is our gold when, recently I was watching a documentary, sometime last year. Where did they talk about, a journalist, maybe you've seen it, maybe you sent it to me. Journalists that go around different gold refining facilities in Ghana. Where one thing where they come up, they say if the gold get a Ghana stamp of approval, they know they take them seriously abroad. But if they take it from Ghana, where you go Europe, where you get a European stamp of approval, it get more value, right? Which means, say, we have some homework to be done in those areas. Say, even the meaning of value has to be contested. We have to combat the idea of economics itself, global economics. We can't just say, oh yeah, this is what economics is, so we're going to go play the game on our terms, on their turf. So we have gold. We've had gold, we've had cocoa, we get oil, but it's not on our terms. So some people will literally say that our wealth, the wealth in the land is not ours yet. Right? The uranium, if it has to power France's arrangements, and it means it's not ours. So now we have to make it ours. Yeah.
And this is where we go back to Kutu.
Thank you.
Ignatius Kutu Achampong, because if you really check Kutu's body language towards the West, it was just him saying that I am not going to go with your terms. You can sum him. Listen, if you sum his governance style, that's all it comes down to. I am not going to go by your standard. When I say Operation Feed Yourself, I'm saying that screw your systems that exports wheat and canned sardines to me. I'm going to grow corn and send my fishermen to sea. That's what he's saying when he says Operation Feed Yourself. When he says Yentia, what he's saying is that money that you're asking me to pay is not justified. You don't deserve that money. I'm not going to pay that money to you. And if I don't pay that money, I'm very much aware that you're going to retaliate, but I'm ready for that. And my response to that is Operation Feed Yourself. Green Ghana. Do you know that during that period, Ghana was exporting food, Kwesi? When Kutu Achampong decided, say, Yentia, instead we'll do Operation Feed Yourself, Ghana began to export food. So this is what we are talking about. We should be bold.
If I amplify what you say,
when the AES, seriously, when the AES set out to do what they were doing, it wasn't knee-jerk. And this is the difference. Back in the day, we saw knee-jerk coup d'etats, right? People are angry because of something, okay? All kinds of maybe tribal sentiments, whatnot, to fuel that. So we'll have people like, with all due respect, Sergeant Kanyando, who would move a successful coup in Liberia, but doesn't even know what to do with the power that he has. So only becomes an appendage of the West in West Africa. We've had that. We've had many coup d'etats where the people they're angry with the system and then they move the system and replace it with what? We've had that many times in Africa. This time, Kwesi, I see a coordinated effort to work for the people over there in the AES region. And it's easy for them because it's like a template that all three of them are working with. Right? So this is what we are going to do.
And it's like you just mentioned Kutu in terms of precedents, right? Somebody come before, you mentioned Kutu, normally they think of Sankara. Sankara didn't think along those lines. He said, look, all this arrangement, we don't have to listen to you. We're not obligated to listen to them.
I don't know how to speak French, but I remember that famous statement that he made to the ECOWAS, to the OAU, "Ce n'est pas payer pas," something like that. He said, we will not pay. He said, if you will pay, it basically translates like this. He says, after he made the speech, he saw that some of the heads of state were like, I said, Yesrobi say. He says, well, if you want to go and pay. As for me, I will not pay.
And just imagine if
I knew you were going to bring that up, I would have brought that video so we can look at it. He said it to the leader. He said, those of you who want to go and pay, it's up to go and pay. Me personally, I won't pay. Because they owe me, I don't owe them.
Thank you. That will be our starting point, right? It is tell us what we for, man, these things where we for work with as our building blocks. And like you said, back to the Sahel thing, they are aware of that framework. Well, and how can it's not knee-jerk. It's not just like, oh, we're angry, we're lashing out.
No.
These things that they have something to stand on.
Yes, all three coups were bloodless. All three countries were bloodless. They didn't come out to kill people and do all this nonsense just for the sake of it. They wanted a paradigm shift, and they realized they could do that without shedding blood, and they did exactly that. So it's very hard for anybody to really, you see, these people have said, it's like they say, even that thing that you call democracy, yeah, but how you see, no. Even though we didn't come to the ballot box, once we're here, we're coming to show you how democracy should work, how democracy should inherit to the benefit of the people, how the uranium in Niger should benefit Nigerians, not French. Well, it could benefit the French too, but the Nigerians first.
Priority.
Yes.
No, okay, baby. Okay, baby, sisi akwa na mfuli say develop ya no so kakra. Sorry, I mean my chance to move forward.
Oh no, let's go through. Let's
So basically, okay, democracy, right? The idea of the state, it's almost like the state is following the voice of the people or channeling the voice of the people directly.
Basically.
Versus the state is over here and it's doing this thing, and by the way, this is what the people say. Right, so that's the democracy we want. But sometimes we fool ourselves with that term democracy. We are brought for us, right? I'm gonna find word. I'm gonna word. Be an answer. I can do it too. Let's talk about what we really want to do, and if that word works, we use it. If it doesn't work, we put it aside, right? And how can if we go build on concepts where they deal with the people, right? What the people want. The everyday edges of the people and they say, Charlie, we want to have things on our own terms. You could hear politicians, political science, they was school near the end, when they're talking, they channel the ideas through all these ideas where they be secondary to the point. Crossing beyond shadow book paint, or no, I see a 10-year canon. See, I didn't cry into me, and you say, then we go learn from that one. But because we won't go listen to the guy where you go learn a thing for school. But I think we first started to think about this. I love the idea that you bring Kutu. A lot of people were dissing Kutu, say he wasn't educated. Kutu was a teacher before.
Kutu was a teacher.
He's an intellectual. Where he said he turned it back on all of that, said we go speak the language of the people.
And you know that Ghanaians used to, you know how Ghanaians would make jokes about their leaders and all of that. Ghanaians used to make a lot of jokes about Kutu for not speaking too much English. And
intentional.
That's why I'm going with that. That's why I'm going with that. Now let's look at Traore of Burkina Faso, right? In connection with that also. And let's see how he's bringing culture to diplomacy, right? When he came to Ghana, when he met our female vice president, who could be his mother, he took his hat off, shook her hand, saluted, did all of that, and put it back on. When he met the president himself, who is of a higher rank, right? So in terms of state, he is Burkina Faso, Mahama is Ghana. So they are kind of like on an equal pedestal. He puts his hat back on to salute him, country to country. At that point, he was dealing with Mahama as a country.
Yes.
When he met the woman, he was dealing with her as a person.
Yes.
As his mother. So he brought that element of the culture, of our culture, which we should not lose. And I'm saying this because you mentioned democracy. Democracy can be looked at as a term or as a concept, right? Now, when we look at it as a term, that's where we go wrong. When we look at it as a concept, all we're saying there is that we want the system to work for everybody. Instead of just, and let's not forget, because he said before, no, there were some kings, chiefs, whoever, who claimed ownership of the land and so held everybody else in subservience, right? So the concept, not the term, but the concept of democracy, is something that we can benefit from, because after all, I don't want to live under some chief who says, "Hey, me na me your mind, you need to know." Because you say that question, when I don't want to do that. Let's face it, right?
Okay.
There are many things that the chiefs and the kings were doing that not all the people necessarily agreed with. So democracy, the concept of power changing, shifting hands, and leaning more towards the people in power, it was going to happen one way or the other.
Has to.
Right. Good.
I think that's the default position. That's how it's supposed to be.
That's how it's supposed to be.
So they're deciding on the king. They look for somebody where for do that. So if you're not doing it, it means they want to say it.
Yes. Basically.
There are things in place for that, right?
Yes. Basically.
To me two ideas. So
you in Papua, don't from Papa, you 2 ideas. So there's so many things that there are places in the central region where there are days during the festival which is dedicated for coming to lambast the chief. It's allowed.
Make them know that.
Yes, they leave the youth. The youth will make songs about all the bad things they've seen the chief doing when they saw him plucking somebody's cassava, and the next time he was running around with somebody's wife and all those things. They will make it into a song. They will go into the town. They will sing all day about that. Everybody will know that this is what the chief has been doing. We have democracy. It's embedded in us. Yes, right?
Yes. But maybe we didn't call it that. But I love the way
that's the point I'm making.
Of concept.
That's the point I'm making. It's a concept that we've always had. But when you take the term democracy, that's when it becomes alien to us. Right? But that said, let me go back to Traore a little bit. So when he meets Mahama, he's state to state. When he meets the woman, it's me versus a female that is old enough to be my mother that I respect. So he applies both concepts on the same stage within the space of 3 minutes? You see? And he's saying that we are not only going to go by the protocols because of course there's also protocols that connect with established protocols around the world, right? Military protocols, whatnot, governance protocols, whatnot. Yes, we are part of an international system, so we will do that. But we're also going to employ and apply our own systems, which is showing respect to the female who is older than me, who is going to be my mother, who I respect. You see? That's his own terms. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about do we think on our own terms.
No, and I don't even see a but over there. I see and. Right? This is what we do. Right?
Basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you live.
Basically.
Hey, that's how we live.
And when we say, please go through.
No, I want to hear you. Please.
Well, I was just saying, or set an example for the youth to follow. Or yes, something practical. Let's take Jerry Rawlings as an example. When he takes off his shirt and he jumps into the gutter and he picks the shovel and he's digging the gutter as a head of state. Or Kacha will say, bro, this is something you can do. You're not bigger than cleaning your own environment. Example. When you see certain things, some of our leaders, we cannot all the way defend them, but there are certain things that they did that we can look at and say, whoa, this is what they were saying to us. And if you look at all these things and you put them together, then you realize that we can actually have our own system of governance, our own economics, our own everything. After all that is done, we're not scared to stand up to the world and say, hey, come, let's trade, let's dance, let's party. But right now, the world is partying on our resources. And that's not right.
Yes. So, Nana, I think so we keep returning to this because, ideas will evolve, things that keep happening over there. We're no surprise say next week we'll wake up, we're going to hear some news way, something else, way to build on that. So I want us to keep listening to you on that, on the issue of, what happened with the alliance there, the Sahel States Alliance, right? But see, to me, I can't. Some of the things you've picked up about developments in Ghana and across the continent, because I like very much saying, you see, the thing we say, Ghana doesn't mean anything if we don't put it in the context of Africa or the Black world. Yeah, we're going to talk about Ghana in isolation all day, but it's not rooted in anything. Nothing will fit. Nothing meaningful. We know if it makes sense of it if we just talk about Ghana as in isolation, right? And you get to interact with a lot of ideas coming out of Ghana. And as you say, you tap into what happened for the black world inside. And on the way, so Charlie, share some thoughts where you pick up or things you reflect on, like these past few weeks on developments in Africa, right? Maybe linked to the Sahel thing, but maybe some things, like East Africa. Congo,
I actually
right
like
now,
to.
The M23 thing in Congo like this, we jump off this last week like this. If you have any ideas, on that, I know there's this thing about Rwanda is doing this and that, but it's more complicated than just blaming one side, right? About some of those things. That's just one example. I could love very much if you start shed some light on some of these things that look a little difficult to have a handle on, because this problem has been dragging on for a while, right?
Yeah. So, the Congo thing, I don't know if you have enough time to go into it. So I'll just make one quick remark on that and kick back to AES, really. With the Congo thing there, first of all, I read about those executions. That's where my focus is. In this day and age, to line up so many people and shoot them for what type of crimes, I think that these are some of the things that we should start looking at. It's appalling. I haven't done. I don't want to go too deep in there because, like you said, it's a very complex matter, right? And I feel like we don't have enough time even left on the show right now to deal with that. So let me just piggyback to the AES.
But we go pick it up another day,
another time, yes,
please.
and look deeper
because it's our
that.
business.
Yes, of course, every African business is our business.
Thank you.
So, but anyway, the AES, remember, within this short time that they've been in existence, Niger is the third fastest growing economy in Africa. Right? Oh, no, wait, that's the world, is it? I think. Right? I think it's the fastest growing economy in Africa and the third fastest in the world. I think something along those lines. Within this short period of time. And like I stated earlier, Burkina Faso has launched its first electric car. Burkina Faso has made giant strides in its economy since Traoré took power. The agriculture of Burkina Faso is like over there. The quality of life has improved significantly versus the countries that wanted to go and wage war on them because they had a military leader. What is Tinubu doing in Nigeria? Call any Nigerian and ask them to say 2 sentences about Tinubu. And that's the same Nigerian to say 1 sentence about Traoré. And go back to Traoré's country and do the same and hear what you will hear. Go to Ghana and do the same. Right? So they are not just there for power. They're not just there for whatever type of experience. They're there for the people, you can tell. And they are showing results. They are showing results. Now with Burkina Faso coming up with their own car, you know what's going to happen? These people are probably going to show more smartness than Ghanaians, because I believe that they are going to start having their police cars, their government vehicles, all being produced by them. Instead of spending millions of dollars every year importing brands from outside the country. Ghana has had Kantanka for years. Every year there's an exhibition. Last year, that is 2024, I saw the exhibition. That guy has machines, agricultural equipment, combined harvesters. But sadly, just a week or two before those machinery were exhibited, the president now, who was not president at the time, was talking about his combined harvester, because he's also a farmer. His combined harvester had broken down and they had to wait for months to import parts from China to fix it. And there's somebody in Ghana who's making combined harvesters, not parts. And if somebody can make combined harvesters, then they can make parts.
So there's something like, he's either not aware of it or we don't value that thing. So okay, what do you think?
So in that particular situation, what happened is that, and I followed up on that. So what happened is that they said that they extended a hand to this man. They wanted to help him as a government, but the man said that his thing was a vision that God gave him, and he made his cars out of clay. Now, that's the other side of the problem, because if you cannot put things on paper for other people to understand, but the vision only exists in your head, nobody's going to put their money in there, including the government, because they have to see certain, drawings and papers and whatnot, and then enter into a partnership. But the man wanted, I guess, to keep everything to himself, kind of. So he said it was a vision that God gave him, and it was in his head, and so they kind of pulled back. So it's a bit, of this and that. But I did a program on this station where I pleaded with the government to sit back down with this man, because so many years have passed since that happened, since he said it was. I'm sure he may have revised his notes. I'm sure now he understands that he has to put something on paper to be able to benefit from some sort of assistance. But Kwasi, imagine if Kantanka was making all our police cars, all our prison, all the government agencies, even the government people who they take car loans to go buy car. No, the only condition is that you must buy from Kantanka. You know what that would do? Because you drive across America, our service centers. If you take Toyota, every city that you go in, every major city that you go in America has a Toyota service center, don't they? So if you have Ghana and every major city has a Kantanka service center, how much employment is that bringing? Plus all the money that would have gone to import Toyota and Nissan and Lexus and whatnot is being used within the country. This is what we're talking about. And I believe that the AES, the Sahel States, they're going to show us
how to do this.
It will get to a point where I believe that the ECOWAS will collapse and merge into the AES.
That's all I'm saying.
I don't know.
We have to do that. That's the point I was trying to make at the start. They're leading us. We have to get with it, not just support, but work with them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
More meaningful cooperation, not just like, oh, I like what you're doing and congratulate. The only way, it makes sense. Like one quick thing. Now about Kantanka, no? And I love the way you say, maybe a revised vision. Maybe proposals have to be made. Initiatives have to be made. So I don't know, KBB, sometimes we talk about brilliant things, but statements have to be made. Meetings have to be had. We have to act on these ideas. If so, which my career changes here, then me I just sit down for the corner and say, oh, Charlie Branco, see what KBB power, what KBB, and that's it. Right? But if people move on these ideas, write some letters, call up some people, act on it. Even when he starts out by saying, wait, idea with different, if he keeps hearing people saying these things, it's likely that he will move. And like you said, who knows? Maybe he starts to talk about it differently. So these things are very serious. They're not just words when you just speak about these things. It'd be like back to the Sahel people, they act on their ideas. And I think we come to that place where we act on these ideas, like, Juma, what we for do? Johnny, please keep going. I'm saying we have a few minutes more to just wrap it up, and then we could do them again, Charlie.
Yeah, we have a few minutes. So if you have like maybe a next question or something, then we go take wrap up.
Charlie, you know how to listen to Charlie. Be happy to dream. Atmosphere, Charlie. Anything you want to make we think about, then you go wrap it up. Please give thanks. That's it. That's your name.
Every time. Well, so I'm also happy to say that it looks like the ECOWAS is kind of working with them, because they came to some type of arrangement for like a soft landing type of exit, and they've also maintained, like I stated earlier, some of the protocols, including the free movement and all of that. I don't know if this is good or bad, to be honest with you, because I personally am not looking at more regional blocks, right? Personally, I want fewer. I wish we only had the Organization of African Unity.
And that was what His Majesty was talking about. Same thing. I say all these things, we're just doing them as like, placeholders, right? Yes. But the goal be the unity.
Yes.
Plus he said this at that 63 meeting. But I so we have ECOWAS, so how wonderful. It is irrelevant.
No.
And I'm sure that this Sahel thing is a more dynamic thing. It is not just a static, the three countries idea. You're working on a certain level. We work with it and make it a now Kosovo.
Basically.
So honey, please.
Yeah, no, basically, so I'm a bit nervous about it looks like it's a good thing, but then, and I'm not saying that cementing the AES is a bad thing. I'm just a bit nervous about creating more blocks, right? I wish that the ideals of the AES can be incorporated into the ECOWAS, if not for anything at all, and to the bigger extent,
AU,
into the OAU, exactly, whatever they call it now. You know, I wish that would have been the case rather than that. But again, the AES is also setting the example, as I said, like Nkrumah had advocated earlier, that we can unite without even sharing geographical borders, right? So who knows? Maybe the AES can grow into a bigger idea where South Africa can join that region, that alliance or something for strategic purposes or whatever, But all we need is one big organization of African unity. I was very peeved when they changed the name to AU back in the day. I don't know if, back then in Legon, I was very annoyed at the fact that they would even change the name, Seth, because it sounded like EU, AU, like what was that? And I didn't see any positive change that came along with that change of name. Rather, all we sought to do was to become more subservient to the West and more dependent also. And let me wrap up by saying that, again, let's reiterate the fact that if we look at the geopolitics, if we look at all the things going on around the world, if we look at the emergence of the BRICS, how strong it is becoming, if we look at the United States and its body language towards immigrants, if we look at Europe and its body language towards immigrants, and also even trade, with Africa and all of that, it is clear that we have to redefine ourselves. It is clear that we have to redefine our governance. It is clear that we have to look at our terms of trade. We need a new world order. And I'm sorry to borrow that term, but we do need a new world order. An order where we come to the table with our own terms. Not exist in an order where we are pulled to the table as pawns. So enough thanks, Kwesi.
Yeah, that's the only name. So make we do this again, Charlie. Yeah, make we develop some of the points,
Every time.
All right.
Every
Charlie,
time.
Thank you. Yeah, that's it.
Every time. One love, Kwesi.
Fyahside.
Rastafari.
Yes, sir.
Explain to yourself each coping skill for more gonna hear and each and dramatic stress syndrome long enough to justify your existence.